Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today we're looking at two bizarre stories. One involving possible ghosts or shadow people, another this nightcrawler cryptid, maybe winged humanoid that was seen terrorizing a family. Either way, let's get into the first article. Red Orange Orb, Night of Silence, Shadows and Unseen Figures encountered at Glen Rest Cemetery. And here exactly what was seen, folks. On a quiet June night in 1995, my girlfriend, my cousin, and I sat on a stone bridge inside Glen Rest Cemetery when a fiery, multicolored orb silently streaked across the sky, only to be followed moments later by a chilling emergence of darkened figures. What we experienced in those few frozen seconds would haunt me for decades and raise far more questions than I ever could have anticipated. Let's read the full account now. Hi, in June 1995, my girlfriend at the time, my cousin, and I decided to grab some beers and hang out at Glen Rest Cemetery, a cemetery owned by my girlfriend's parents in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. We were sitting on the bridge over the pond in the middle of the cemetery. The bridge is made of stone, and my girlfriend was lying on the stone ledge, which was wide enough for her to lie comfortably without the risk of falling. So it sounds completely normal so far, folks, but things were going to turn decidedly bizarre and truly unspeakably intensely fearful. As we gazed up at the sky and talked, we suddenly saw an orb fly across. The orb was primarily red and orange, but also had hints of yellow, blue, and green. It fell silently and appeared to land just beyond the trees, about 500 yards away. My cousin and I became excited, jumped up, and started walking toward where we thought the orb might have landed. I told my cousin to wait and turned to my girlfriend to ask her to join us. I grabbed her hand and helped her up, but then she started, "Oh my God, oh my God." I turned to look at her, and it was as if her entire body gave out. She fell to the ground and pointed in the opposite direction of where we thought the orb had dropped. I followed her gaze and saw a man emerge from the darkness. He looked like a human, but I couldn't make out any details of his face. He was dressed in black dress pants and a long-sleeved white shirt. Then two more men dressed the same way stepped out of the shadows behind him, forming a V shape like geese in flight. Two additional men followed behind them. My girlfriend was crying and urging us to run. I was shocked and yelled for my cousin. He came running toward us, but initially started walking in the direction where we thought the orb had landed until I called his name. I pointed at the figures, and it felt like time froze for all of us. Then my girlfriend began to run toward her house at the front of the cemetery, and I followed her. I noticed that my cousin seemed to be standing still, and I remember thinking, what is he doing? What will happen to him? About a third of the way to her house, my girlfriend's foot sank into some mud, causing her to fall. I quickly picked her up and continued running with her in my arms. I remember wondering how I was able to run while carrying her, but at the same time, I didn't remember the act of running at all. Suddenly, we were in her driveway. My cousin was there, and we all jumped into his truck and drove away. The next thing I remember is that it was daylight. I have seen a similar orb once more in my life during my childhood while sitting on the porch with my father's good friend and neighbor, but I have never witnessed those people like in this account are. That is truly bizarre, folks. It almost comes across like a UFO sighting or a drone sighting, but this was back in the 90s. And what was with these shadowy like people as well, folks? I mean, they were clearly solid, but they still give me vibes of shadow people. We'll talk more about this later, folks, but let's move on to the next article now. Nightcrawler, unseen predator terrorized native New Mexico family. There was also a video, but I didn't include it, folks, because it includes people just talking about their instance, and there were also photos, which we will look at today, folks, but let's get into the story first. In the remote Four Corners region of New Mexico, a terrified family faces an escalating series of clawing attacks, unexplainable growls, and violent damage to their property, as witnesses describe an 8-foot winged gray-haired creature reminiscent of the creeper. Questions mount about whether this is a flesh-and-blood predator or a powerful thought form manifesting from the shadows. We are looking back at this incredible case. J.C. Johnson and his team were contacted on Friday, September 21st, 2012, regarding a series of disturbing instances occurring at a residence in the Four Corners area of New Mexico. The family has experienced loud clawing sounds and indiscernible growls coming from outside their home. Their daughter has reported seeing claw marks on her bedroom window and experiencing unexplained activity within the house. She woke up with claw marks on her back and has noticed items being moved in her bedroom. There have been several attempts to confront this being, but it has eluded them each time. Additionally, the house and a vehicle have sustained damage as a result of these attacks. Deep claw and shoe marks can be seen on the truck's headlight housing and grille. A few 3-clawed prints have been left on the side of the house and on the ground around the residence. So far, very terrifying, folks. What is this thing? Is it a thought form, a winged humanoid, or maybe some sort of a skinwalker that's been terrorizing this Mexico family? Let's continue with this article, folks, and then we can discuss what has taken place in these stories. 2 separate descriptions were presented to JC. One description indicated that this being resembled the Creeper from the Jeepers Creepers horror film series. A more detailed account was provided by a witness who observed the being while it was sitting on the ground. It was covered in gray hair, and a 3-clawed appendage was visible. The height of this beast from torso to head while sitting was about 5 feet, which would make it approximately 8 to 9 feet tall when standing. There are indications that the being has wings, which could explain the odd patches of trampled corn stalks in the field as it would fly and then land indiscriminately. Furthermore, the apparent attacks on the daughter within the home suggest a supernatural aspect to this being, lending some credence to the idea that it may be a thought-form entity manifesting and causing havoc. At this point, it is impossible to determine its true intent. Either way, truly insane story, folks. What is this entity? Now, we're also going to basically be looking at some photos of this damage done to the house and the vehicle that was nearby, folks. So, all we can say, folks, in both stories, that unseen phenomena does exist, at least. At least that's what I'm basically saying here, folks. Now, was this being some sort of thought form? And what about the orb with these shadow people? Maybe it is also some sort of manifestation of maybe thought, folks, with basically the orb? I mean, it's an idea, and maybe that's the same thing could be said about the shadowy beings. Now, here we can see the damage done on the vehicle, folks, around the light's housing. As you can see, it looks truly terrifying and, well, very bad. It looks like something took basically their claws and just started ripping at the paint. Now there's also damage on a rabbit cage that was apparently on the truck too, folks. So that would also basically be terrifying for the animal inside. There was also scratches on the girl's back caused by this being, folks. Remember, she said that this being had been attacking her. So it makes me think of basically a poltergeist activity. And I'll explain that a little more. Either way, here are claw marks found around the residence. And yeah, it looks like whatever did this has some big claws and had some prestigious strength. Especially when you look at the muddy claw marks on the side of the house here, folks. Whatever did this looks like it was strong and very big. But is it all a hoax? I will say this, folks. The fact that this girl had claw marks on her reminds me, as I said, of poltergeist activity. Remember, some people experience poltergeist activity, and these people usually are young women who are basically very, very sad because they're going through a point in their lives where they're either growing up and there's a lot of hormones and other things going on in their life, or they're in a bad situation, and this causes this weird phenomena to occur. Perhaps this thought form is some sort of poltergeist manifestation, and this is why it's able to physically attack this girl. All we know, folks, is that this entity resembles the Jeepers Creepers monster, which has also been basically seen all over America as well, folks. So very like the Slender Man phenomena, folks. Perhaps people believe in the Jeepers Creepers entity so much that it's literally become real, at least if only temporarily, folks. But that's just an idea. Wherever this entity is, folks, it could be a demon, some sort of interdimensional interloper, maybe summoned forth from its, home dimension by the, thoughts of this young woman and others, or, indeed, we don't know what. Now, with the first story, folks, with the orb again, folks, it reminds me of basically of a UFO encounter. Maybe these dark entities were basically men in black, and they were there to scare these people off from approaching this, extraterrestrial vehicle, or maybe drone. That's also an idea. Either way, folks, we're done. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. So be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks. I'll see you all again soon.